Greetings, it's Mike from LiveMyAssOff.com. Hope you're well. And the thing I wanted to talk about today is I was driving around and I was thinking, okay, what video am I going to, or what subject matter am I going to talk about? And there's something that I'm very, very interested, passionate, excited about. And there's probably going to be a series of videos, but I'll just sort of paint the picture of the area of the world that I'm very interested in, and that is basically Southeast Asia, and all of those countries sort of got together to sort of have some degree of financial success and impact and ability to trade fairly easily, even though the cultures of these countries are quite different. But anyway, there is the association of Southeast Asian nations, and it's referred to ASEAN, A-S-E-A-N. And those nations are Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, Indonesia, Singapore, Philippines, Malaysia, Myanmar, Laos, and Brunei. And I'll put a link below to sort of a Wikipedia article, as well as ASEAN.org. And I've heard it pronounced many different ways, ASEAN or ASEAN, but at the end of the day, it's A-S-E-A-N. The countries that I'm actually really most excited about it's interesting to me because it's growing quite quickly. The economy is growing quite quickly. The level of technology, the minds, the young minds of people that are instantiating businesses and new inventions is very exciting to me. And so you could label that the startup ecosystem or the entrepreneurial spirit or whatever, but there's these new companies that are starting, and they're using these, these co-working spaces, those are really cool now, and they're in Bangkok and that sort of thing. But so one of the things that I'm going to be doing in November is I got a grant from where I work at USD, and I'm going to be spending 3 weeks in Bangkok, and as part of that grant, called the International Opportunities Grant, I'm going to be studying the startup ecosystem in Bangkok, because it is very different than the startup ecosystem in Silicon Valley, or even San Diego for that matter, because of course Silicon Valley you could argue is like the place here, and then sort of over there, Singapore is getting quite a bit, Shanghai maybe a little bit, but there's other areas of China too that are getting a lot of investment. But what really excites me about Bangkok is that country is going through a huge metamorphosis, like the whole country. And so, and I'm not specifically talking about the government. In fact, I really don't really care about the governments of any country. It doesn't interest me. What interests me is business and entrepreneurship and people that are coming up with great ideas and putting them in the hands of millions of people. I love the statement I heard a while ago. I don't know who said it, so I can't give them credit. But they stated that the new billionaire is the person that's going to help a billion people, right? So it's not necessarily the person that has $1 billion, U.S. dollars. Although I suppose that's sort of a byproduct, potentially. If you do, in fact, help 1 billion people, you could argue that, well, the universe sort of, it's appropriate that that person gets rewarded $1 billion, right? I don't know, maybe not. But regardless, what's happening in Bangkok right now and what's happening in Thailand right now is that they've discovered that it would be an excellent idea for them to reinvent themselves. Now, they didn't just come up with this year. This is something that began approximately 2015. At that time, they kind of set out to do a 7-year plan. So between 2015 and 2021, they said, okay, let's go for a 7-year investment strategy. Like, what are we going to do in this country, and what are we going to want to have come in this country? And as part of that, what came out was this initiative called Thailand 4.0. And the reason it's 4.0 is because 1.0 was basically like, okay, let's instruct people on how to farm and how to be able to grow enough food for themselves so that they don't starve and die. And then the next one was like, okay, well, let's teach them how to farm and do some sort of work in their village, but then also not just make enough rice for themselves, but export it and then figure out a way that we can get that and then get that as an income, and then you can additionally get other people fed as well, right? And then Thailand 3.0, and these are very loose. I'm leaving out a number of facts, but I'm just trying to get to Thailand 4.0. And then Thailand 3.0 was like, okay, well, let's figure out, like, we can do manufacturing here. Like, the Chinese are doing that, and they're doing that in Vietnam. Like, we can do that, so let's, start making things for the world. And so if you don't know, Thailand makes like 12% of the world's tires, for example. Or at least they did a while ago. I don't know if they do recently. But they had it at one time. And so Thailand 3.0 was basically where they're at right now. And so they manufacture a lot of auto parts. They manufacture a lot of autos. They manufacture a bunch of PC boards. And it brings us to today where they have very low unemployment. They have about 0.8% unemployment, which basically means everybody in Thailand is working. But, they're not working and making $25,000 a year. The minimum wage, if you will, of a Thai worker, I believe, is 300 baht per day, which is approximately, $8. I mean, it depends on where you are. It's more in Bangkok, but certainly. But yeah, so the number that's sort of thrown around is about 300 baht a day. And so there is that sort of, minimum wage. And again, it's a minimum. I mean, you could argue that, like, look, I can make minimum wage in the United States, and you can't live in San Diego very comfortably, I would submit. You can share a room with a bunch of friends and that sort of thing. And if you're a starving college student, I was, you can live in PB in a little studio, or you can live with, your buddies, and, minimum wage, you can survive, for sure. But, the delta between surviving and really achieving and living and then having a comfortable life is sort of the next step. And so that's what Thailand wants to get to. So Thailand 4.0 is going to be this initiative that involves probably about the next 20 years, 25 years actually. And they're focused on making their country great again. I can't believe I just said that. No, making their country better through technology and through adding more higher value goods to the world. And so they're going to get a lot more, pardon me, I need to drink some water, a lot more into producing things via robotics, biotech, and that sort of thing, all of the newer technologies. But for me, what's really interesting is sort of this push for, hey, like, we're going to really encourage people, like, through STEM or STEAM or whatever you want to use the label to, talk about science and technology, engineering, mathematics, arts as well. And we're going to really encourage our kids to go to school for that. We're really going to encourage anyone who has a great idea. We're going to invite investment into Thailand, and it's all sort of starting and happening. And so I wanted to start this video, and there's going to be a bunch of other videos, maybe not in a row. But the reason I wanted to sort of set the stage here for my discussion around Thailand 4.0 is because come November, that's really going to that will be where I will be. And so Gracie and I are going to be living in Bangkok for about 3 weeks. And I'm going to be studying the startup ecosystem. And inevitably that will involve going to, like, meetups and that sort of thing. But I'm going to 2 conferences, I think maybe even 3 conferences. One specifically, the International Congress on Entrepreneurship, which is in downtown Bangkok. And then the other nice thing, actually, is that it's Thanksgiving over here, but it's not Thanksgiving over there. So it's a holiday here, but in Bangkok, they have a full regular work week. And so they have these conferences that are happening that week. So that's going to be great. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Thailand 4.0, I highly recommend you Google it. I'm going to be Googling it even more because I really want to bring my passion, my excitement, my interest, my facts, and my incorrect assumptions, and my opinions, and everything about Thailand 4.0 and how I really think that that's going to change that region, and I think it's going to be a huge benefit to folks in the United States, too, because I think we can really go over there and add a whole lot of value. So that's my little check-in for today. I hope you're living the dream. I hope where you're watching this, you're safe and happy, truly. Because, in my opinion and experience, if you're not living the dream, you're doing it wrong. Ciao.